This is a video covering some of the new features and changes for Pandafold 0.6.21. The first thing I'm going to cover is importing. So there's now the ability to import STL files. So this STL file comes from Thingiverse. It's by Zaba Costumes, and I'll link a description in the comments. So let's open this. The first thing to notice is you will get a new import dialog that pops up, and it shows you information about the mesh, the name, the number of triangles, and the size. It will also warn you if there is something the application is not thrilled about with the mesh. So in this case, it's saying this mesh, the original size is really small. It's in millimeters, and the import size would be in millimeters. So it's suggesting that I scale that up by 1,000. And you'll see now that I get something that's much closer to what I want. Maybe that's not the case because this is a fursuit head base. 1.9 meters would be really large. Let's scale that down one. And that looks like the size we actually want. So this does not look like we wanted because it's upside down. Um, so what we might actually want to do is let's go import that again. And we can also change the which axis is up. So in this case, I'm going to go back to 100 here, and I'm going to set the up axis to Z, which is usually the case. So if we go ahead and import that, now we get what we expect. So the other thing you'll notice here is there is a new grid here. In this case, this model is centered in the y-axis. Pandafold uses y-axis up. So I can turn the grid off if I want. This is another new feature. Just come up here and say show 3D grid. And that's kind of the basics for importing. The same thing happens when you import OBJ files, is it will show you the dimensions and let you adjust the axis for import. So that's one of the major changes here. It's also a lot more granular on the feedback about importing. So if you import something with a lot of triangles, it will give you a lot more progress or detailed progress status. Another big change for this release is I have spent a lot of time working on the seam drawing tool to try to make it a lot more robust. So this is a customer provided mesh, and it wasn't working all that great with the last release. This release is a dramatic improvement. So this mesh has no volume to it. It's just a surface. And I was struggling with getting Pandafold to work with a mesh where you needed to create patterns on utilize the edge of the mesh as a boundary. So that now works. So let's say, for instance, I want to snap to the edge of the mesh or the topology here. So I can just do that now, and Pandafold can now cut and deal with that pattern just fine. So if I come over and look at the thing that was cut here, it looks like we expect it would. So this also goes for things with holes. So if I want to go ahead and create a mesh around this eye, if I do that, Pandafold will, you don't have to like try to trace the eye. It will just stop where the hole is. So let's go ahead and do this so that it snaps all the way to the edge of this eye socket here so that we get something really nice here. So this way you just draw kind of pretty much the seams you need and you're all set. So I'm able to get, I don't have to trace the inside of the eye socket or anything like that. It just works with this hole here. And then I get these two patterns out of it. So that is a big change here. And this just works now. Another change to the seam drawing tool is it works much better with utilizing topology vertices. So if you wanted to trace a seam along topology, it just works now. It wasn't working before. And you don't have to follow the edges here. You can cross the edges. Pandafold really doesn't care. So, you can create whatever kind of special little pattern you want here. And it just works. But now if you want to use the edges of the topology, you can. If you want to use the vertices, you can. So this just works now. And if you guys want, I will add tools to draw seams along edge flow. So this way you can just select a loop and Pandafold will just draw seams following the loop. It's something that I kind of want, so I might add it. But I want to hear back from you guys to see if it's something that interests you. Uh, The big reason for rewriting the seam drawing tool was I wanted the ability to have better seam mirroring. I can't say that that is working as well as I want, and that's really a limitation of the meshes. So this mesh here is an example of one that this is the mesh I've been using to test drawing seams or mirroring seams. And the challenge is that while this mesh looks symmetrical, it isn't. And so Pandafold is using this hint here to tell you that it failed specifically on mirroring um, this point here. And you'll see this mesh, it's voxelized and it's not got like a great edge flow to it. But when I try to mirror this, what Pandafold is telling me is that the point that's highlighted in red was where it failed to find symmetry on the other side of the mesh. So if I want to try to get this to work, what I need to do is come in here and change the vertices here. Yeah, there we go. Um, so Pandafold uses the original camera location. And because this is voxelized, that line wasn't really clean. So now when I try to mirror this, it will likely work. Yeah, so it was able to successfully mirror it. So all of my work on the seam drawing tool dramatically improved this, but it's definitely not perfect. I'm still going to have to do some more iterations on it, but I wanted to get this release out because it is a dramatic improvement in the overall reliability and usage of Pandafold. There is a new UI preferences or editor preferences here. So this allows you to change the scale of the GUI. So if you found the fonts and the buttons and everything to be too large or too small, you can adjust this. So 1 is the default size. And if I change that, you'll see that everything just got a little bit larger. And maybe I want to go really large. So this makes it easier to change the scale of the GUI if you've decided that you want to do that. Um, let's set that back to 1. And then inside of the preference here, there's also some details about how auto-saving works. You can create an auto-save each time you cut a pattern, and whether or not you want the application to reopen the last file when it starts. There's also the ability to toggle debug mode. Most users shouldn't need that. It's there just in case. So I've added the open recent, so you'll see your last 15 files here, and then the autosave here will save up to 8 prior versions of the files that you've been working on, and you can just jump back in time. You can also create your own autosave here, and that will just add yet another one here. So this way, if you want to jump back in time, it does this just easily and it manages it for you. So it will just delete the old ones. It won't create new autosaves unless there's been change to the file. So it tries to avoid wasting your disk space, but also gives you the ability to recover if something goes wrong or if you've made a change you don't like. So another big change here is there's now help documentation. So when you click on a tool, if you come down here and click on this icon here, you'll get details about the tool and how it works. This is, it's a start. So you can click on stuff and kind of get an idea of how things work. I've still got to do a bunch of work here to document more stuff.